Hey, welcome to Between Three Witches, where we talk about witchcraft in plain sight. It's a podcast about everyday magic that is lived honestly and is hosted by three witches me, Gayle the Witch Next Door.
Me, Vikkie, the Wheelie Green Witch.
And me, Anon, the anonymous witch.
We all have different paths, different levels of experience, but we all share a same respect for the craft as it's actually practiced. Before we get into that, how have we all been since our first podcast episode? Vikkie, what have you been up to?
Yeah, so it's been really, really busy, really, really exciting. Been doing so many illustrations and just getting the Patreon ready.
You've pressed go live on the
I
Patreon.
have pressed publish on the first thing, and I'm going to be uploading all the PDFs with all the illustrations. Yeah, probably 13th of February.
Oh, exciting, exciting.
It's stressful in the background.
Yeah, it has been, I bet. Anon, what about you? What have you been up to? How's it been?
It's been all right. I've been fiddling with IT, and as you both know, I am horrific. Paper and pen or a pigeon will do me just fine. So I have actually put up my TikTok and Instagram as Anon Welsh Witch. So for anyone that would like to find me, you'll find me there.
I know, I'm so proud of you. And yeah, fiddling. Probably could use a better terminology
Yes,
than that. Why have we got to start fiddling so early on? I know we were a bit uptight in the last episode, but
Well, what word do you want me to use?
well, fiddling's fine.
you
There we
carry
are.
on.
We'll stick with a bit of IT fiddling.
We will.
I'm just clearly being childish.
No, but do you know what? That's really, and that's probably what I would say since the last podcast. We're like, we've learned so much already from that first episode. So hopefully, those of you that are returning will see us a lot more relaxed, and as we get into more talking around witchcraft, and those of you that haven't yet listened to the first one, just bear that in mind. We were nervous, we were really rigid, but today we're going to be talking about fiddling with witchcraft practice. So
Sounds good.
But I've been really good as well. I've been really, really busy just with real life work, to be honest. But so I'm really glad that I can sit down with you guys and have a bit of a chin wag and a giggle, as we always do, and now we get to share it with everybody else as well. So let's talk about today's episode and what real lived witchcraft looks like. So should we talk about what our daily practice looks like in real terms? Because I think on social media, especially, I get asked this a lot. Like, how do I start a practice? What does it really look like? Are we bending our knees at our altars every day? Anon, what about you? Is there specific things that there's non-negotiables, but is there anything that you have to do?
Well, I'm certainly not bending my knees at any altar for a start. Let me just tell you that.
Is that because your knees won't bend, or is that just because you don't do that as part of your practice?
Because stop laughing, Vikkie.
I'm sorry.
No, because I am the altar.
I love that.
And I think if you were a little fly on the wall when I was doing a lot of my kind of day-to-day practice, it certainly wouldn't look like that beautiful imagery that we see on social media. I think for me, as you both know, I'm a single mum of two Merlins. I work full time. I'm a carer. I haven't got the time, a lot of the time anyway, to be really thinking and putting thought into that more of a ritualistic practice. Would I like to more often? Yes, absolutely. But I would say my day-to-day practice is checking in with myself, where I am emotionally, where I am physically. And my magic, if you will, is interwoven within the quote unquote mundane. It is putting that intention into that glass of water or the coffee that I drink first thing in the morning. It is the intention with every bite of something I have to eat. And it's the thanks that I give back. It is placing my hand on the threshold when I leave. It's speaking to the house spirits when I leave. And a lot of my workings is internal as well. It can just be through that kind of energy working within and the intention and the action around it. When I do have the time, when I do have the energy, then yes, my practice would look more of that ritualistic, but not on an everyday level.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't think ritualistic witchcraft is anything I've done since the very beginning, because I was leaning into the idea of what I was supposed to be doing rather than what felt really intentional. So I had to think about like what I do on a daily basis, and you're right, it's so interwoven. I guess there's many things I do that are so magical, and I don't even think about it now. I mean, I will always pull a daily oracle card or a tarot card. That's something I've done for years. It kind of sets me up for the day. So if I'm going to say there's one thing I do religiously, it is definitely that. Um, but in terms of like the interconnectedness, you know, I'll talk to the trees when I'm out for a walk, or I'll pick up a stone and see how that feels within my body. And those kind of things I just do instinctively. You know, taking a shower with real intention to either cleanse or protect myself. You know, there's certain things like that. And like you say, having a cup of coffee in the morning with real intention put into it. But yeah, a lot of it is interwoven. There's not this kind of going to my altar space, speaking to gods and goddesses, or doing, you know, ritualistic magic in order to feel connected. My connectedness and my real lived witchcraft is stuff that I do every single day. Picking out clothes, for goodness sake, that match the colour of the intention, putting on jewellery with intention as well, and picking out stones that correlate to, usually I've got some sort of big conversation I've got to have at work. So there's something that I will use either as a protection or an empowerment or a courage or a deflector. You know, all of those kind of things just happen a second, what's the word? Perimenopause brain. They just
Second nature.
second nature. Thank
There
you,
you
Vikkie.
go.
What about you, Vikkie? What does your,
Yeah, I think it's the same thing, isn't it? Because for me, I have to meld in life with disabilities, and that's an unusual thing. And it's not to keep bringing it up, but actually that makes my life very, very different. So I have to do the medications and all that malarkey before I even start the day. So that's now actually weirdly become part of my ritual. Is I try and make that enjoyable and grounded and really sort of think into it. And then we get to the stirring of the cup of coffee and the have a shower and really sort of like make that really intentional. And I think this is what people don't realize. It's a daily thing. It's all those little routines that everybody actually already does. You know, we all do them. And it's a bit like I happen to have a talisman on my key ring. And if it's not on my key ring for any reason, if it's come off for any reason, I start panicking because I think, oh no, where is it? Where is it? But it's those little things. It's those little things that a thing on the key ring where you can touch it and you can hold it and you can ground yourself. You can bring yourself back into nature. And as a general, my morning routine, once I'm sort of up and showered and I've done that work that I need to do, get myself set up, check in with myself, get a cup of coffee. And the first thing I do is actually open the windows, no matter what the weather. I clear the house out. I open the windows. Everything gets to sweep through. And energy gets swept out as well from the day before, the night before. So,
oh, I love
yeah.
that. And do you know what? That's something I'd never really considered actually, about your disability or anybody's disability, how you can weave your magic into that as part of your daily practice. That's
Yes.
really, I mean, it's really important, right? To make it,
The thing is, witchcraft is your daily living experience.
yeah.
It's not, oh, and now I'm going to make time for witchcraft. You know, what some people do, but I think when people ask, how do you weave this into your life? Actually, it's in everything that you do. So, okay, there are things that I have to do, and there are things that other people have to do. Mine are just slightly different. So I weave it into that. You know, it could be a horrible thing that I have to do, or I can say, actually, this is going to set me up for the day. This is going to make sure that my body is protected. This is what I can do. And so I weave it into it.
So I guess just more specifically then, maybe if we talk about our relationship with nature, because Vikkie, you're a green witch.
I am.
And you love all your plant magic. I know Anonymous loves working with the fairies, and they live mostly outside and relationships with nature. And obviously, it's a big part of my practice. It's a huge part, in fact. But how do you find those things to be magical? Like how has that evolved over the years to be a magical practice?
Magical practice. Interesting. That's my favourite word. I always find these questions so interesting because it makes me think about how I actually practice.
Yeah.
I just have an affinity with plants. This is going to sound absolutely balmy, like I'm some sort of plant woman, but they just calm me, they ground me. And so the older I've got, the more I connect with the plants and I'm more intentional about what I plant or how I look after them. Love my hands in the ground. Love the earth. So literally, when people say grounding, that is literally the word, isn't it? It's grounding, it's the earth.
What I find funny is that you've just said to me, an anonymous witch, that we're going to find this balmy.
Yeah.
Not many things that I'm going to find weird, and plant magic is definitely not one of them. My relationship with plants, it's really difficult to articulate when we're doing social media because
Yeah.
it can come across as a bit, wow, that's out there. But actually, as you develop into your practice, that relationship with every other spiritual being, plants are one of them, crystals are another, the earth is I mean, it's everywhere, spirit is everywhere, but in terms of like plant energy and relationship building, that is a huge part for me. But that comes with time. I don't think for beginners who are trying to figure out what their magical practice looks like,
Yeah.
that's something that evolves. You can't just go out and start speaking to an oak tree and expect it to talk back. But I get that energetic feed now from different plants and different trees. And I guess that's why you're saying it's balmy, but I guess because
you get used to it, don't? Yeah, you get used to it. And where I say about developing things, or you ask about developing my practices with it, I plant by the moon cycles, because different moon cycles have different effects on water and roots and the way it all moves and grows and stuff. So yeah,
I knew we were friends, really. I knew
well,
it. I've
there
never
is
actually
that.
done that, considering my affinity with moon magic. I've never made myself like a moon garden. And I know that's quite a big thing as well. Like planting to all of the moon phases. But yeah, I'll plant seeds on new moons for new intentions, and put intention into that, but not others. So Anon, how's your relationship with nature and part of your practice?
I think for me, I've always been, from a young age, incredibly enchanted by nature. For me, with my Welsh culture, nature is our inspiration. Excuse me. You know, the mist in the morning lying in the vales is the dragon's breath waking in the morning, seeing those glistening stars on the sunrise. And for me, nature has always been a form of cleanser in itself. Whenever I have felt, and I don't like the terminology of stuck, because I don't view it as I'm stuck in something. It's just that I need to make a decision. Or if I'm feeling heavy with emotion, I will always take myself into nature. And without fail, each and every time, I will find that answer that is right for me at that right time. And I find, for me, nature is my main altar. I have this affinity with the earth, the blades of grass, the flowers that peek through, the animals within, the branches. For me, in a way, I feel that it breathes with me. It moves with me as I walk through the land. And it doesn't matter even if I go outside of Wales, it's almost like this idea that it remembers me and I remember it. And I just feel so at home in nature. And for me, as much as I love crystals, as much as I love a lot of the aesthetic tools that practitioners can use, for me, something as beautiful as a pebble that I find on my path, something like a beautiful feather, a blade of grass, a leaf, a twig, that is enough for me to use within my workings. And I love it.
You know what, Anon? You're saying a remember it, and this is the thing, isn't it? Just about every single child does this, and we get taught not to do it. But they will sit on the grass and they will feel it with their hands. They put their hands on the earth, they watch the bugs go around, and they just step out of the daily life grind for a minute. And we get older, we forget to do it, and then we wander around all ridiculously all anxious and stressed, going, oh, I can't actually ground myself as such. And then you have to be taught how to ground and actually step back into childhood a bit. It's the remembering of it.
And I think that's what happens. Well, I can only talk for me anyway, and my two Merlins as I watched them grow. It's when you're a child, it's almost like, oh, I remember this. I can see, I can feel, I can hear. And when we go through certain educational systems, I'm certainly not going to sit here and talk about every one, but how many times were you told as a child to grow up? You know, fairies don't exist. The unicorn isn't there, and etc., etc. Or don't come home dirty again. You know, don't come home with dirty hands again. So I don't. Sorry, go on.
No, I'm sorry. I literally had a message on one of my social media posts the other day, and I can't remember which one it was, but it was about, I think it was when I was collecting the ibis feathers when I was out in Australia, and somebody and somebody put on there, my parents always told me not to pick up feathers because they're dirty. Is that true? And they asked me if that was true. I mean, my instinctive answer is, of course they're not. They don't carry parasites, but simple things like that. And on, like you're saying, we were told as kids, don't touch that, it's dirty. My parents always told me, don't bring in the dandelions, you're going to weigh the bed. Like, they are the most magically inspiring plant. I'm
going to jump in because I was really lucky because I was brought up sort of in my practice, and so I got to make the mud pies and the potions with the, making your perfume potion with the rose petals and collecting all the bits and bobs and touching stuff and smelling stuff. And actually my parents didn't mind if I got dirty, but then I've never grown up because I colour in for a living, so it's,
yes, let's be children together, man.
but there's something magical about that childlike state. We have so many stresses in life, and I think this is why people will look into, what does witchcraft look like for me? Is this going to be something for me? Because, and there's a resurgence in it, isn't there? Let's face it. There's a massive resurgence as the world gets more unstable, it gets more anxiety driven, cost of living, etc. You find more people go back to, how do I grow food? I need to ground myself. What do I need to do? And then this is where people start looking into the witchcraft path.
Yeah, but
so
that's what we did years ago. Like if us three were living close-ish to each other, I don't know, 400 years ago, and you were the witch to help with the plants and, to make the ointments and the creams to help with illness, the healing part of working with the plants. And somebody came to me and said, can I have help with something like that? That might not be my specialty. I might have a basic idea, but I wouldn't proclaim to be that. But as a witch, I'd say the Green Witch down there is the best, is the better person for you.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? I mean, and it's how communities worked, isn't it? I wouldn't, if somebody was giving birth in the middle of labour, I would be,
I'll help. Come on, love, we can do this.
But because that, okay, I have given birth to 3 children, but I'm not sure I'd be doing, I'd be saying breathe, but not a lot. However, if they needed a tincture to try and calm down and help heal afterwards, absolutely, that I can help with. That's the thing. I think the community part of it all, we would send people to other people if we didn't work in that area.
So shall we talk a little bit around protection and boundary magic and what that looks like as a lived daily practice? Because we see it all over socials, right?
Yeah.
Black candle and, you know, the big rituals around protection. And there's also a lot of hype around how important protection magic is, which it is, but we don't need to be fearful of it. So Vikkie, what does that look for you like on a daily, weekly,
Daily
a
basis.
normal basis? Yeah. What's your
An ordinary lived practice basis, not the big hoo-ha for social media. Yeah. Okay, so protection, a lot of that is actually, I'll sweep the energy out of the house. I open the windows. I do not want energy that I don't want in the house. So that gets a fresh start every day. Showers, an intentional wash myself off showers. And I don't mean to actually get clean. Obviously I do. But it's that, right, I'm going to shower stuff off. With regard to my practice, do you know, it comes with me every day. It just comes with me every day. I have just got to, those are my boundaries. That's not happening. I will allow so much of something.
But boundaries are a protection mechanism.
Boundaries are a massive protection.
So just for beginners in witchcraft, like boundaries are one of the core pillars of protection. And
the word no,
the
word no is a whole sentence, and it's a whole practice in itself. You can say no, whether that is to other people, whether that is to other ideas, whether it's to somebody saying practice in this way or that way, or you're doing it wrong. You can actually say no, and you can say no to spirit as well. Other protection, confidence in yourself and self-sovereignty. So just being confident in yourself. You are who you are, and that's okay. Obviously, when I'm doing ritual type stuff, which isn't huge amounts of time, but when I do, yes, the big guns come out. Is that often? It's not in live practice. It's not, no.
Not as often as I think people make out. Like you have to do all of these protection wards, and which you do, but it doesn't have to be every single day, does it? So Anon, what does it look like to you in terms of?
It's very similar actually to what Vic was saying, because I probably charge, or I will make a new form of protective ward within my home, or I will make a talisman, or I will have some form of a charm on me. So I already know when I'm leaving my property, I already know I'm protected. You know, I don't need to do these huge ritualistic forms of working on a day-to-day basis. Now, if I know I'm going on a long journey, I might do some form of ritual or blessing on the tires of the vehicle that I'm driving on. A lot of my work is quiet. A lot of my work is silent. Like I mentioned earlier, a lot of my work is on thresholds, because I do view them in my practice as a form of portal. You know, when I leave the house, I will always speak to the house spirit. I will speak to my spiritual team, whatever that might look like for each individual practitioner, because your craft is individualized. I am yet to meet another practitioner where their workings and their belief system is exactly like mine. And that's what our practice is, what sits with you, what feels right to you. And I will gently touch the door frame when I leave. And sometimes there's no words that are said, but it's that internal energy work. It's the action that I place when I step over that threshold, that I know those energies and those spirits are with me throughout the day. My spiritual team already know if I need to be protected half an hour from now.
Anon, I was just going to say, I heard you say about thresholds. Thresholds are a huge thing for me. Huge thing for me.
Yeah.
It's that liminal space, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
That Glasgow witch, actually, that Glasgow witch has been really good at starting to open the doors to what threshold magic is. She did a really good video on this, and you don't see it an awful lot because it's not fancy or aesthetic, or it's true magic. It's magic how we do it every single day, and it's that liminal space of threshold magic. Yeah. So I agree with that as well.
It's any doorway, you know. Primarily for me, it's always been the front door. It's It's the cleansing form that I do when I enter my property. You know, if I've had one of those days that it's felt like a week, I'm going to do my own form of cleansing right there. And any energy that I've collected that I don't want is left there. But it's also the vehicle door that I enter. It might be the public transport. It might be my own vehicle. It's the doorway that I enter within work. It might be my bedroom doorway with regards to the threshold and the portal. But a lot of my protection, like what Vikkie was saying, is that understanding that you are the magic, you are the power, you are the source, but also not forgetting the mundane. And I think, you know, keeping our personal boundaries in check, being absolutely okay with saying no and being aware of our physical boundaries. If someone comes a little bit too close, and stepping back from that and actually verbalizing that. You know, it's not just about protection within our magical space. This is protection as a female within this world. You know, it's protection as a mother. It's a protection as a carer that I am. And all of that, like I said earlier, it's interwoven within my mundane world, just like my magical practice is. It's interwoven and it's interlocked.
I know, and I'm really curious now as to why you use your bedroom door as a threshold to protection. What are you scared of in your bedroom?
I'm not going to tell you that. Why?
But jokes aside, it is all of those things. But I guess I'm a bit more not literal with it, but there's a lot of things that I carry, I wear. So I'll spend time, I don't know, a couple of times a year making protection wards for my car, and they stay in my car all of the time. But you know, so I do love doing all of the practical magic, but there is also, like you say, that threshold. And what came to mind before I made the joke about your bedroom door was just when we're going into other people's houses, actually, because sometimes we can't avoid like family or friendships. You know, it's all well and good saying no and putting boundaries in place, but before you walk into a situation, you can protect yourself energetically, and when you come out of that situation, you can set the intention to leave it behind.
That's what I was going to say. If you have been, I know this is me interrupting, but one of the things I like to do, and I do it slightly differently now because my feet don't work, but if I'm walking out of a situation and I go through that door and it's been intense, it's been bad vibes, or it's been you know, there is something going on in there, whether it be an argument, whether it be somebody's intentions, as you come out, you can shake that off. Come out of the door, shake it off. Stamp your feet. If you need to stamp your feet, stamp your feet. Shake off that energy before you even get into your car. Just get rid of it. Just don't have anything hanging on you.
It's true, people don't see those things as magical enough because they are. They're intention based, they're energy based. And that's what you need to think of. Anything that contains energy is a form of magical practice. And
100%.
it reminded me of a show I was watching last night, and I won't say on here because some people may not have seen it yet. But she walked out of a room and she went and screamed into her hands because she was frustrated with the situation. And it wasn't portrayed in any magical way. It was just a show and watch on TV. But I just thought actually that release of energy in order to protect herself and carry on and move forward is, again, it's all there. So you need to view those things, all of the daily little things that we do as magical. But what I like to add in, like when I'm doing shower work, when I'm having a shower.
This is going so well today.
I know, I'm having shower work, but I guess the shower's a really important one. Don't make too many jokes. It's a really important one because I use like magical products as well.
Yeah.
So I love buying from other magical creators. Oh, absolutely. But using like shower gels that are imbued with magical intention for cleansing, all different types of, or evil eye or whatever that may be. And I use that in my hand wash. And actually, you don't even need to use a magical wash, but you can just washing your hands is an energetic clearing as well. So sorry, I'm going off on a tangent.
Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, it is tangent, isn't it? Is you can wash your hands with cinnamon. You can wash your hands with salt. You can if you have only got the worst brand of shower gel, do you know what? You can put a little bit of essential oil in that. You can put a little bit of herb in that. You can just put intention in it.
You can enchant it, can't you?
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally give it a few words. Give it that job to do, and off we go.
Stick it under the moon.
You can put it under the moon. Yeah,
stick it under the moon. Everybody puts their crystals under the moon, but my goodness, you can put so many things out with the moon's energy and a bit of intention.
I've got a question with regard to protection. Do you all cleanse and get rid of the bad energy on your deliveries that come in?
Oh,
yeah.
No, I don't.
Do you not shake them off?
No, not always. No, because I don't, and I think it depends. It depends. If I'm buying something that's got age to it, I will. But if it's new, not necessarily. But that shouldn't matter, because now you've made me question it. So I'm outing myself. But it shouldn't matter, right? You're right. Because
in theory, it shouldn't matter. But
all sorts of energy, regardless of age.
I tend to, because I have no idea the mood of which the delivery person is going to bring in through my threshold.
You're so right. Anon, do you do that?
I was just going to say, yeah, so I've got certain things around my threshold and throughout the hallway where there is a certain intention there where any form of negative energy that is attached to something or someone will be dissolved. And anything positive. So if I buy from a practitioner, that perhaps I bought some, magical products or soaps or objects, all of that beautiful magical energy that has been placed within that with that intention will remain. So with a lot of work-ins, like we've talked about before, it is about layering. And it's about having the confidence to do that layering. So for me, with my main threshold, it is always to get rid of any form of negative energy and keep the magical, beautiful energy within.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so shall we move on then to other daily, lived witchcraft practice? And I don't want to talk about this for too long, because I think in our next episode we're going to go deep diving on ancestor and spiritual work. But is this something that you guys do every single day? Do you talk to your ancestors, your deities, your gods or goddesses? What does that look like spirit connection? Do you do it every day?
Well, I talk to my ancestors every day. Yeah, pretty much, because they've got a wider view. They've got a wider view of what's going on. So I might not see something coming, but they've got me covered, as Anon has said earlier on. Yeah, they've got me covered. I have a little chat with the house spirits, the ancestors. I do some deity work, but that's a personal thing, so that isn't what I talk about on social media. But yeah.
And you are, I'm not, I know for a fact you do. I could answer this for you.
100%.
You probably talk to your spirits more than humans.
yeah, I do.
I probably do too, to be fair. Yeah.
Honestly, it's every day without fail, I have a verbalized conversation, if I feel that it's safe to do so, with my ancestors, with my spiritual team. There are some days more than other where I'll say, ancestors known or unknown, but connected to my highest good. And like Vikkie was mentioning earlier, we are the ones that have the power that will allow any form of spirit to have a form of connection with us. So, and I say that because I have heard some practitioners say, well, I didn't get on with a specific relative, or I don't want a specific relative to have any connection with me. You have the power. And it's understanding that it's with your authority that you can say no. So yeah, but that I think that comes with more experience, with perhaps connection with the spirits that you feel comfortable in working with. But absolutely, I'll speak to them all.
Brilliant. And like I said, we're going to do a whole episode on that next time round. So it was a question we had from one of my Patreon members. So yeah, we will definitely deep dive. So make sure you come back for episode 3 for that. So in terms of like knowledge base, do you guys how much investigation into your witchcraft practice do you do? Is it like daily? Are you reading books about witchcraft every day? Are you doing podcasts or courses? How does that look? Is that like a fundamental part of the craft as well? Do we have to continue learning? And I've said that out loud and I know the answer, but you know, I want to hear it from you guys.
100%. 100%. It doesn't matter to me how many hours or how many years that I've been called or remember my pathway. I will never get to a point in my life where I will turn around and say, oh, I know it all. My commute to work is an hour in the morning, it's an hour in the evening, and I will purposefully choose spiritual forms of podcasts to listen to. I have bought too many books that, you know, some books I've read 4 pages, some books I'm halfway through. And yeah, you know, not all books will connect with me in a positive way. But again, that's all about the learning process. It's the development curve. And again, you know, reading something or coming across something that doesn't resonate with you is just as important as what it would be with finding that connection with something that you're reading or hearing, and it's like that light bulb.
Yeah.
You know, knowing what works and what doesn't for me is my fundamental process.
Yeah, I'm the same as well. I would never, and I hope I articulate this enough on my social media. Like, my practice is my own. I'm hoping that you can learn from it, but actually take bits from everywhere, because that's what's going to build your most authentic practice, and learn from so many different teachers, because it's so important. But yeah, I'm the same. I've read a million books halfway through, not even halfway through. I don't even know why I'm saying that. I'm really rubbish at actually reading. So I'm good for using them as reference books, but actually sitting down reading a book I struggle with. But I'm like you, I'm in the car or I'm traveling quite a lot, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I listen to a lot of podcasts, which is where we've seen a bit of a gap because I've binged all the really, really good ones. But I also do a lot of courses as well, like online courses. So at the moment I'm doing a Celtic shamanism one, which is, it's interesting because a lot of it I already know, but it's just around putting some of the stuff around it. And I'm hoping people listening to this will do the same. They go, oh yeah, I do that already. And you don't necessarily already acknowledge that as part of your practice. But
yeah, you're just not naming it, are you?
exactly. But I always want to continuously learn. There's definitely courses that I want to do this year. I also am, like, as much as I can in my personal time, go to like women's circles and drumming circles and all of that community aspect as well. Just so it's not only about reading and education, but learning from other spiritual folk. They don't always recognize themselves as witches, but you know, especially women. I like to go and learn about how other people do their practice and learn things as well. So yeah, I'm always open to that. What about you, Vikkie? Do you even get time, quite frankly, to read a book?
Every day.
Do you?
Every day. Yeah, I spend a couple of hours delving into various things. And that isn't, oh, I'm brilliant. Look, I am just over 50 years old. I am old, okay? And
No, you are not. We will.
no, I am, and I love being old. I love being old.
Broadcast, but you're not
I
old.
am. I love it.
Yeah.
It's such a privilege. It's such a
It
privilege
is
to
a
get old.
privilege. That is very true.
And I'm in my sovereignty here, and I have had many years of practice. However, do you know how many years of folk practice from around even one area of England, let alone across the UK, let alone across the whole of Britain, let alone across Europe? How many years of all that knowledge am I missing out on? And not all of it applies to me. I don't like some of it. That's fine. But the history behind it. Why do we do this? Why do we do that? I don't know why we do that. And then add on top, as you were saying, community, other people's experiences. See, this is where I get really passionate, really, really passionate. I've had this tiny, weeny little bit of life, and I'm trying to cram as much knowledge in as I possibly can.
But I think it's one of the most exciting things about the craft is the education and the development as well. Like, again, I've got a number of students and I'm like, this works for now. but it might not work in 6 months. So you need to, and what we're doing now will change. You know, don't label things. Just constantly know that it's an evolving practice.
Massively so. Massively
And
so.
as you
It
educate
evolves on a daily basis.
Mm.
Oh, something's happened. I want to do something about that. Oh, I'm not quite sure. Hang on.
Yeah.
I'm going to question myself about it. Right, let me just look into, okay, this is how they did this. This is why I'm doing that. And actually your why will lead to your education. Why are you doing something? Then you start going and asking other people. You start looking at the history. And the
Yeah.
history's there for a reason. It was there for survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Okay, so shall we talk about seasonal and cyclical living?
Seasonal or cyclical.
Yeah,
Both.
whatever it may be. But do you guys? So I mean, there's no hiding with me. I definitely mark the Sabbats, although that's not strictly true, and I do get questioned on this sometimes. But I mark the seasonal shifts. I honour the fire festivals. There are 4 a year, and I get asked, "Well, what's the 8 Sabbats?" I'm like, "Well, actually, I don't really work with the 8 Sabbats in the wheel of the year because that's a much more modern practice. But I do work with the 4 fire festivals. They are very important to my practice, like that big seasonal shift. But I do honour the solstices as well, but less so than the big fire festivals. But do you guys work with that? I don't think I've even ever asked you off camera, let alone on this podcast.
Anon, do you want to take that one first?
Do you watch my videos? Do
Yeah,
you
go on.
Sabbat candles?
Don't start now on my band. Don't even. How dare you?
Oh,
How dare you? No,
you do celebrate the 8 Sabbats.
no. So I'm not going to even discuss Mabon. I don't actually follow the wheel. I don't like how it was created, but that is just my personal belief system. For me, yes, very much like you, Gayle, I do follow the seasonal shifts. I have to follow the calendar that I have for work purposes, for living within this westernized culture. But fundamentally, I follow what nature gives me. I follow the signs from nature. I follow my own personal physical response to nature, my emotional response to nature. And yes, absolutely, I will celebrate Christmas. I always have. You know, I've got 2 Merlins, I've got 2 beautiful sons, and absolutely I will celebrate that time of year. But 100% I will celebrate the equinox as well. And, you know, I usually spend a lot of that time in quiet contemplation, doing my own form of thanks, doing my own form of wonder at where we are, you know, and how we're connected to the stars and to nature itself.
Do you blend in like Yule with Christmas, or is it exclusively Christmas and you don't blend in like Yuletide?
Oh, 100% Yule. Within my house, probably from about middle of November onwards, I'll forage, naturally asking for permission. That's just the way that I work with the nature spirits, and I will give my own form of offering back. But there's always some form of natural foliage within the house. I primarily make the majority of my garlands. There's always some clementine and oranges and lemons with cloves and cinnamon and apple slices that have naturally dried, you know, over the weeks or the months leading up. And I think that's important to bring nature in during some of the darkest months, and especially bringing that pop of colour in. And primarily, you know, my belief anyway is that the westernized idea of Christmas, and this is only my opinion, is a lot of what we use to celebrate has roots within our practice, you know, bringing the foliage in, celebration, you know, having those candles, having those fairy lights, so to speak, having that twinkling light, the glow within the home, everyone, you know, cuddling round and snuggling down. I think that's always been there. And everybody I know has this sense of, you know, snuggling down and that sense of just calming down as well. You know, that sense of being within the home, being within our loved ones. But naturally, if home is your safe space as well.
So what about you then, Vikkie? Do you mark Sabbath, seasonal shifts?
Oh, I'm a season. Well, I'm a green witch, so seasons have got to be going on, right? So, you know, winter, rest time, lower light. But I tell you what, I am very, very much on for the solstices.
Mm.
But it's all to do with the light as well, isn't it? It's and obviously moon. I plant by the moon. I do plant by the moon. So you've got that sort of cycle as well. But the solstice, big thing, big thing, and actually got married on the summer solstice many years ago. Yeah, on the longest day. My husband always thinks that's hilarious. Longest day of his life. But yeah, I know, right? But yeah, so they're big things. They are big things to me, and Yule is huge. So my husband is actually more Christian based. So we do Christmas and we do Yule. For him, it just means that Christmas is elongated and he gets to eat more and feast more and do all the nice stuff. So we amalgamate that to fit our household. But apart from that, he's always quite up for a good solstice type party. Yeah.
Yeah, see, that's really interesting because the solstices are really important to me, but I don't celebrate them as much as the fire festivals. And this is where it comes into like our own lived practice, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
an expectation of doing every single Sabbath and every single fire festival. But you two have talked specifically, well, and on around seasonal, you're very much around Yule and solstices, whereas I really like lived in the Imbolc and Lunarsar and Samhain. So like,
Samhain is a big one as well. Yeah.
yeah, they're huge for me. Like they just feel like such pivotal moments throughout the year. And actually, when I came to my practice, Imbolc was the first one that I can't think of the word, but the first one that I celebrated. And I remember it was just so significant seeing the seasonal shift. Like it absolutely revolutionized the way that I practice and then the way that I step forward. It wasn't so much about going by what I was learning, it was going by how I was feeling. So the seasonal shifts are insanely important for me. And I love the way actually that social media, we're always quick to look at the negatives, but there's an awful lot from the right creators about what those seasonal shifts look like. They're not arbitrary dates, although it's celebrated within a calendar year and we look at February the 1st, and but that isn't the date at which our ancestors and historically it was celebrated. It was a season. And then I always get asked questions like, oh, can I do the candle, you know, on the 5th of February? Well, I do the whole bloody season. It's the whole season.
Yeah.
I mean, it may change shape a little bit throughout the weeks, but yeah, for me, it's the whole season. So yeah, and but that's my practice, and that's how it works for me. And yeah, and I'm gutted that neither of you make my seasonal candle that I put so much effort in on social media.
Do you know, I once tried making a seasonal candle. It wasn't one of yours, and I needed I needed a big jar of sand because I put way too many dried stuff at it.
Yeah, that takes
Big jar of sand. Yeah, I learned
I've got sand. I've got sand down the shed.
That is something for all new people having a look and having a listen. Okay.
Keep sand.
One of the things you're going to need, okay, is a nice big bucket of play sand or something on a just in case basis.
So just to close off then, in reality, every witch has their own practice. And our discussion today breaks down some of the ways in which to approach your craft and the way that we approach our craft separately. So as always, please drop us any comments or questions you have because we'd love to hear them. But this week we are starting our Come Sit With Us, where we've got questions from our listeners. And what I did was ask on my Patreon. So all the guys there got to see our pilot episode, and we've got a few questions, but this week we're going to focus on one, and it's from Dina and Becky actually on my Patreon, and they asked, how do you learn to create incantations? And then Becky asks, are they necessary? So Anon, what about you? How did you learn or create incantations, and do you think they are necessary?
I think for me in when you look at my Welsh heritage, when it comes to incantations, the spoken word is vital. For me, a lot of my personal work, when I am speaking those incantations, they are poetic. That's just a personal choice that sits better with me. Sometimes the spoken incantation can be very simplistic, like what we mentioned earlier. That no can be just enough, or verbalizing, I am protected, I am cleansed, and so on and so forth. I think you can also, in my practice, I have completed, I would say more so on a day-to-day basis, my incantations are silent. They are that thought process coupled with the energy and the emotion behind it, which is actually recorded in an ancient way as well. You know, we see a lot of evidence of that. Is it necessary? No. In my belief and how I practice, no. Again, your pathway is very personalized. I think if you feel that adding that extra layer of the spoken word, and you have to have an idea of what your working is going to entail. Is it going to be about protection? Is it going to be about cleansing? You know, have an idea beforehand, ideally, what it is that you want to say. Is it going to be one word? Is it going to be a short sentence? Do you want it to sound more like a rhyme? So have that idea first, if that sits with you, if that calls to you. However, if it's not safe for you, or it doesn't sit right with you to speak that verbally, you can have it as that internal thought and that internal power. Is it necessary though? No. And I think that is down to the individual practitioner.
That's really difficult to follow on from. So you did give a really good synopsis there. And I think just for me personally, I very, very rarely use incantations in my spell work unless I need to use breath and a deeper intention on and it's usually I would say on a deeper, bigger ritual, not in the day-to-day spell work. And I do share this on my Patreon with my Patreon members, and I give them options for incantations, but I'm like, guys, if you want to say it, if you want to adapt it, because that's where the real magic comes. And you know, we are engineering that. But if you don't feel like you need to, I agree. But I think there are instances when it's really important, and sometimes it's when you're using that breath to imbue. But yeah, I can't really add a lot onto Anon, to be honest. I do and I don't, but I don't think it's necessary all the time.
I was going to say, I agree. I think it's necessary for everyone? Absolutely not. Do I use them? Yes. There are some that I have learned that have been passed down to me. Obviously, they stay within this line.
Oh, I love
Yeah. So I do have some that just roll off the tongue. I was taught them.
Mm-hmm.
Do I use them in knot work? Yes, I absolutely speak to knot work.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely speak to knot work, and I speak to poppets, for instance, because I want to put that breath work into it. Do I think you need the flowery, rhyming, this is my spell and so mote it be? No. Actually, no, I don't think you do need it. You put a lot of feeling into what you're doing, a lot of intention, you put your soul into it, and you give it those words. But as Anon said, know what you're asking for. Keep it short, keep it sweet, maybe keep it to 3 words, because 3's a lot easier to remember, right? Rather than a great big long sentence. Or you can do what I can do sometimes and absolutely mutter my way through. Oh, this is not here. Blah, 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 and this happened today, and I don't like that, and I'm, you know.
That's a really valid point, actually. So when we're saying are they necessary and not magic, I think actually that's one of those times where it is actually it's really important because you're
handy
putting that intention into it. Yeah.
That said, do I think you can do that without saying it out loud? Yes, I agree with Anon. and you could say that within your head in a repeated manner, and you could then just breathe on the knot. So if you're in a situation where you can't say it
Yes.
out loud, you could do that instead.
So thank you for listening to Between Three Witches, Witchcraft in Plain Sight. If this episode resonated, you're welcome to sit with it or simply unfold it in your own time, but please do share it if you think it's worth it. You can find me, Gayle the Witch Next Door, on all the social platforms. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Patreon. And you can find Vikkie, the Wheelie Green Witch, on TikTok, Instagram. You're now on Facebook as well, and on Patreon as of this week. So that's really exciting. And then you can find the Anonymous Witch on TikTok and Instagram. Remind me, Anon, are you Anon Welsh Witch?
Yes, Anon Welsh Witch.
Fabulous. So until next time, may your practice meet you where you are.